So I'm going to show you how they came up with this derivative. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to take the ln of both sides. You guys remember doing that in the past? Many times when you guys had to solve, if you had your variable as an exponent, you would take the log of both sides. So I'm doing the same thing, but I'm just doing it with a base. Okay, so I'm going to ln both sides. And the whole reason I do that is so I can bring that exponent down, just like we've done it in the past. Now from here I want to take the derivative. So taking the derivative of y, or it's the ln of y. So I know it's 1 over y, and then times the derivative of y, which we know is dy dx, or y prime. Same thing, right?
Miss, I have a question.
Yes.
Is there a reason why we're taking the ln and not the log?
But a ln is a log. It's with a base of e though. Same thing. So you can ln both sides or you can log both sides.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Miss.
But there is a reason. There is a reason. The reason that we're using the ln of base e, the log of base e, or a ln, is because that's what's needed in the derivative. It can't just be a log of any base. It has to be the ln.
Okay, thank you, Miss.
No problem. It's because of yeah, it's just that's the way that it works. Okay, so 1 over y times dy dx is equal to, so now taking the derivative here, a is just a number. That's what you need to remember. Here, it's just your base, so it's any number. So what's the derivative of x ln a? And we'll never write this ln a x because it's confusing. So the ln of a is always going to come after it, even though it's just a coefficient. So the derivative here is just the ln of a. You guys following me? This is just a constant. This is just a number. So it's like taking the derivative of x times 3. The derivative is just 3. And the reason we write it this way, again, is because if I were to write it this way, look how confusing that is. Right? You would have to do this. So instead, it is conventional to write it as x ln of a. Okay? Okay, and now we solve for dy dx. And so to solve, I just have to multiply by y. But we know that y is equal to a to the x. And this is the derivative. Again, you do not need to know how to derive these. I'm just showing. And so the derivative of any exponential function where the base is not e is itself, a to the x, times the ln of the base, ln of the base. And of course, as your functions become more complicated, as they're not x, we're going to use the tree. So we're also going to have to multiply by the derivative of whatever you're explaining. Are there any questions? So how is this different from when you have a base of e? What's the difference? When I take the derivative of e to the x, how is it different?
There's no ln.
Yeah, there's no ln. So when I take the derivative of e to the x, it's e to the x, and then you multiply by the derivative of the exponent. Whereas here, we have to multiply by the ln of a, and also take the derivative of x, which is 1. Okay? All right, so calculate the derivatives of the following relation. So y equals 3 to the x. I want to take the derivative of y equals 3 to the x. So we just saw it's itself, and then times the ln of your base. And you're going to leave it like this. You're never going to put ln 3 first because it's confusing. ln of 33 to the exponent x, right? It's confusing, so we always write it this way. Okay, so finding the derivative here. Again, it's itself, so always write whatever you have here. And then times the ln of your base. And now, because I don't just have x, I've got to take the derivative of that exponent, which is 2 minus 10. And you will leave it like this. Now, C, for some reason, it's not showing up, but I'm going to write it. Confirm that that's what you guys have on your sheet. Good. Excellent. Okay, so taking the derivative. The derivative of 3x squared, 3 to the exponent x squared, is itself times the ln of the base, and then times the derivative of the exponent. The derivative of 3 is just 0. And you're going to leave it like
Is there a specific way you want us to write it? If there's so many like lns and exponents?
so we always write whatever your monomial is with your x in the exponent first.
Okay.
I guess I'm not that picky. I just don't want to see, especially if you don't have brackets, I don't want to see this. That's one thing I don't want to see. Now, if you do this, that's okay, but technically the proper form is the way that I've shown it. Okay? We don't leave with the bracket. Okay? I also don't want to see this. And I think for obvious reasons, right? Look at it. It's confusing. You could do this, but again, why are we leading with a bracket? You should lead with a monomial. I mean, they're both monomials, but you should lead with 3x squared, which does not need the bracket. Cool? Okay. F of x equals 3 to the exponent, x squared plus 1. All over x. Is that what you guys have?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. We're going to do a quotient rule. Who wants to do a quotient rule here?
X times
Yep.
3 to the
Mhm.
power x squared plus 1 times ln of x times 2x.
Careful. Ln of?
3.
Yes. Beautiful. Times the ln of 3. And then times?
2x.
Beautiful. And then minus?
Minus 3 to the power of x squared plus 1 over x squared.
Good.
All over x squared.
Excellent. Okay, what are we going to do now, guys, to clean this up? Take a look. Do we have a GCF?
I think we can factor the
Yeah? What do you want to take out?
3 to the power of x squared plus 1.
Beautiful. And then what are we left with?
X ln 3
Yeah, and then?
times 2x,
Okay, so what should you do there?
2x squared
Yeah,
ln 3,
yes, that's what you
min-
want. Beautiful.
and then minus 1
Perfect. Beautiful. All over?
over x squared.
Perfect. Very well done. So I've been teaching this course many, many years, taught it many times. One thing that I noticed, for some reason on this test, you guys mess up with this derivative. This is the one that gets everybody. They're okay with e to the x, they're okay with ln, but they get all mixed up with this one. The practice it. Make sure you do your homework. Make sure you got this down. Okay, because on your test, everything's gonna be all mixed together. And you're gonna have to be able to know how to do each of your derivatives, okay? Okay, determine the equation of the tangent. Y equals x times 3 to the exponent 2 to the x at x equals 1. So I want you guys to realize that this is what? What rule is this?
Product rule.
Yeah, it's a product rule. So again, we're finding an equation of a tangent. So we need a slope, we need a point. We know that x is equal to. So we're going to find the derivative. So finding the derivative, it's a product rule. So who wants to do it for me? Anyone? Anyone different? Anyone else at home that wants to talk? I'd love to hear from you. Yes? Yes. Excellent. Keep going. Good. Oh, no. Okay. Now, from here, let's clean it up. You don't technically have to take out the GCF because we are just trying to find slope, but I'm going to do it because it's good practice. So here, we would factor out the 3 to the exponent 2 to the x. And then what would I be left with? How would we write that?
2x log 3,
Beautiful.
and then plus 1.
Perfect. Okay, so not ln 3 2x, okay guys? Okay, so this is my slope function. So now, when I sub in x equals 1, I have 3 to the exponent 2. I've got 2 ln 3 plus 1. Nine times 2 ln 3 plus 1, which is now 18 ln of 3. That's your slope, guys. So I know that that looks ugly, and I know that you guys, especially because we don't learn imaginary numbers anymore, you guys are not used to seeing numbers separated this way. But this is just one number. So if you were to take out your calculator and do 18 times ln of 3 plus 9, it is just a decimal, just a number, okay? So don't get freaked out that you have a plus sign. Okay, this is just one number. Okay, so now we got to find our point. When x is equal to 1. So when x is equal to 1, y is equal to 1 times 3 squared, which is 9. So therefore, I know that x comma y is equal to 1 comma 9. And now I submit to y equals mx plus b. And so I have 9 is equal to my slope. I'm just going to write, not that it makes a difference, but I just don't want you guys to get confused. Times my x value, which is just 1, and then plus my b value, which is 9. Oh, excuse me. Solving for b. Plus b. And now solving for b, I just have to bring everything over to the other side. And so I have negative 18 ln of 3 minus 9 plus 9 equals b. And so we can see that b is equal to just negative 18. There's the 9 step. Therefore, y equals again, I'm just gonna write this the other way because that's where we started. It doesn't make a difference. It's still the same number. So guys,
Yes.
yeah,
So you said that these would be rarely written in standard form, right? But for this specific question, you'll never ask us to put it in standard form, right?
no.
Because X will it'll be really hard to get X to
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why these are very rarely written in standard form, right? Because X here, so guys, what this equals, so let's actually find out what the decimal is. What's 18 of 3 plus 9? Give it to me for 2 decimal places. What is it?
28.77.
7 or 7 8?
78.
8.
And then, what's 18 times the ln of 3?
19.78.
19.78.
So take a look at that. That would be very difficult to get into standard form, wouldn't it? With no decimal, right? No decimal, no fraction. And so that's why these generally are like that are supposed to be. And no, I will never ask you to put that into standard form unless it is something that it can be done easily, right? Like a base of D perhaps, but not something like that. Cool?
Cool.
Any questions, guys? Okay, so that's your homework. So you guys should be caught up with all this chapter 5 homework by Monday. So by Monday, you should have everything up to this lesson complete. So you're starting fresh with the new lesson and with that homework. Okay, guys, so that's your goal. So by Monday, all of this homework should be done. Okay, so that's 4 sections. Okay, that's the goal. That's what you're going to try to do. Because the test is going to be on Friday. And it's your CPT. So it's also going to include stuff from the other classes. Okay? But you can see how from the beginning we're sort of building. And so all of these topics are very related. Yeah? So the bulk of your CPT will be this chapter, chapter 5, this chapter. However, there's also going to be curve sketching in there. There's going to be other components of chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay? Yes.
Was that anything like proving?
No proving, never proving.
So, but do you have like use the first principle?
Yeah, maybe. You might have first principles on there, though. Right? We'll see. All right, to be honest, you might and you might not, right? But you could have it on there. You learned it in chapter 1. And you can see that the reason that first principles is so important is for developing things. Right? You always go back to first principles. You don't use the shortcut when you're proving, you go back to first principles. Right? In most cases. Okay, cool. So that's it.
Miss, how long will the CBT be for the written section?
You're writing it in one session, so there's going to be, I don't know, maybe you can expect anywhere between 15 to 20 multiple choice, and 1 page probably written, maybe 2 written. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. But it's not going to be too much longer than your test. It will be a little bit longer than your test, but not too much.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Can I ask some questions about chapter 4?